Arnold Richardson, an American Indian of the Haliwa-Saponi tribe whose homelands are in Halifax and Warren counties, began teaching Eastern woodland Indian arts to North Carolina tribes in the early 1970s. He imparted a wealth of knowledge about native arts traditions that has jump-started an artistic renaissance that continues today unabated. Please join me in inviting Arnold Richardson to the stage to receive the North Carolina Heritage Award.
This guy and I go back a long ways. I don't know who's the oldest, him or I. We started out with the American Indian program as part of the visiting artists in North Carolina. And they sent me from the coast to the mountains. And that's where I first met Wayne. And we were part of the visiting artist program throughout the state of North Carolina. And I never knew that he'd get to such a high position. I am really honored to receive this award, and I must acknowledge I couldn't do it by myself. I had to have the help. And the OC, that's obligation and commitment, from my people, the Haliwa-Saponi, and several of them are here this evening scattered around in the audience. And I'm sure he has more questions than I have answers for.
Well, Arnold, we do go back a long way. And my question really to you, and I look at that beautiful video and I see that incredible dancing and the beautiful regalia and the stone carving and the pottery making. Did you have any idea back in 1980 when you were talking about the need to revive this and trying to teach people, did you foresee what was going to happen? That it would be, that would come into such flower as happened in recent decades?
Well, actually, it started in 1972 or 73. I was born and raised up north, and I moved to North Carolina, where my dad's from, with the Haliwa-Saponi. And while I was in New York, I felt the need for many of the Indians in North Carolina, especially my own people, the Haliwa-Saponi, to revive our traditional ceremonies, our arts, and our culture. And I had a vision, because someone once said to me, well, you guys, your culture's gone, it's dead. And I said, no, it doesn't die, it's sleeping. And I have to go wake it up. So fortunate for me, and fortunate for the Arts Council to have met me. While I was in New York, I wrote a proposal, and it got funded for the Haliwa-Saponi tribe. And on the condition that I moved to North Carolina to teach programs in stone sculpture, beadwork, and pottery. And some of my students, or some of them are here in the audience today. And it began to grow from that in the early 70s, and that was with our own tribe. And then the Arts Council so graciously contacted me and said, well, you know, there's other tribes in North Carolina that have lost their culture. I said, no, they haven't. They just haven't found me to revive it for them. And then the Arts Council funded me to do a series of workshops in our community for the other tribes in North Carolina to send 2 delegates. And at the end of the workshops, the Arts Council funded me again to write a manual on the arts and cultures of the Indians of North Carolina, which is now in the state archives. It's called North Carolina Indian Arts and Culture. And then from there, I got called by the Arts Council again, and that was to become a part of the visiting artist program. And that's where I met my compadre here, Wayne Martin. And I worked 2 years at the community college in Robinson Community College. And while I was there, Durham came looking for me, and they wanted me to come to Durham. So I went there for 2 years. And then from there, I went all the way over to Murphy, to Tri-County Community College. I was there for a year. They wanted me to stay 2 years. But after being snowed in for 2 weeks and 9 months, so I returned back to Hollister, and the next week I got a call from a different community college on the coast, it was Martin Community College. And I went there and they asked me, could I do an Indian festival? And I said, if you got the money, I can do it. And so they had the first Indian festival in that county in Martin Community College. And then I got a little bit away from, I do many facets of Indian art, only not because as an artist, but as because a traditionalist, as an American Indian, and what we say is an art and a craft now is really our lifestyle. It was out of a necessity and not out of an enjoyment. Our potteries were made because it was a necessity to have containers for the foods that we cook. The stone carvings were done out of a necessity. It was a form of teaching our younger the old legends, the traditional arts, through stories, by visibly seeing and interpreting those stories in a stone carving. And then I went from there to, where'd I go? I started doing gourd carvings. And the gourds, and I was watching my friend here, I just met the potter and Sonora Lynch, and before there was pottery, it was gourds. And how pottery was discovered, trying to cook the food in the gourd and put the gourd in the fire.
I've got a request for you.
Uh-oh.
You brought your band, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm looking for them to come. Y'all come on out. And I know will you grace us with a couple of pieces and tell us a little bit about where this music.
The songs that you're going to hear, we're only going to play two of them. They are my original compositions. I cannot read nor write music. It's a gift from the spirit world, from the Creator. The first song is called Grandmother Moon. We have our Mother the Earth, and we have in the sky the sun that we call our Creator. And in between them is the grandmother, the moon. This second song, I have to just tell you real quickly a little bit about it. When the rains came from the heaven, those were actually the tears from the Creator. And when they touched the earth, they formed crystals. And we use crystals in many of our ceremonies today. And we call this song Liquid Crystals.
Mr. Arnold Richardson. Thank you, Arnold.